Hello everyone and welcome back to Everlasting Summer, Round 4. We'll be going through Ulyana's route, and from what I can see, I believe we can get up to day 6, 7 without exceeding 9 points that are necessary to get the good ending. So we'll probably be getting the mine scenes. I don't know how I did it last time. I'm gonna be honest, I kind of forgot how that went. Time to look at the walkthrough so I can see what I did. Yeah, you'd be exceeding the 9 points or something. Or I'm looking at this wrong. Ha ha ha. I'm terrible at this. Okay, finally got to an option that's gonna lead to something that we haven't seen before. So I'm pretty sure I've lost to Ulyana before because I'm absolutely terrible at this game. So I'm not entirely sure if there's dialogue that I've already read, but let's try. At least I won a single round. No. Doesn't even say anything. So we're supposed to go to the stage, which I don't remember where the stage is. Is it scene? The events of the past day kept flashing brightly in my head. That stupid, useless checklist, this foolish tournament. Tonight I had no intention of doing anything or talking to anybody. The investigation of my complicated situation was the last thing on earth I would do this evening. I headed to the north. At least, where I thought it was. It was my habit from my youth to go to the north. I like this part of my hometown more than the southern districts. Traveling to the Black Sea resorts was never my thing either. Boundless forests and fields were much closer to me than beaches and Barkins. Question, what is that? Doesn't even give me a pronunciation. How rude. I need to know how close I am to pronouncing it. Well, anyways, it's a sand dune. And it gives me no pronunciation, so I guess we're never gonna know unless you know. Several minutes later, an open-air stage consisting of several wooden benches and a platform appeared before my eyes. The pigeons outside are extremely loud. I climbed onto the stage. So much varied musical equipment, loudspeakers, a microphone stand, and even a piano. I imagined a crowd of people in front of me, everyone screaming, shouting my name, myself blinded by the spotlights. I imagined a guitar in my hands and attempted to play a long and striking solo. I suppose it looked pretty funny from a stranger's point of view, a weird guy swinging his arms on stage, jumping around like an ape and making faces. I hope no one can see me here. I'm not even ready to do Ulyana's voice, okay. Hey! Piped up from somewhere above. I looked up and saw Ulyana hanging over the beam under the stage ceiling like a little monkey. And what are you doing here? I'm just... Denial is obviously futile. You saw it, didn't you? I said in frustration and turned away. Oh, I see. A wasted guitar talent in you. I said nothing. Hey, come on, don't frown. It was funny enough. She giggled. Funny enough, eh? I huffed. Yep. Ulyana answered calmly. Come up here, dude. Where to? To me. Duh. I ain't gonna get up there. Don't even try to convince me. Not that I have a fear of heights, it's just that climbing up there is pointless, isn't it? No, just get over here. I felt in my bones that something was going wrong, but still slowly headed her way. When I found myself standing under Ulyana, she cried out, "Catch me!" and jumped. Thousands of thoughts flashed through my mind in an instant. How would I catch her? Is it worth trying? What if she dies? What if she breaks my something? Why the hell does this happen to me? That's our own fault, no more fooling around. Wow, what a number of thoughts come and go within the blink of an eye. When sometimes many years are not enough to come up with a single idea. At last, logic and self-preservation instinct won the battle and I stepped back. Ulyana landed gently, tumbled, instantly jumped to her feet and looked at me with offense. Holy moly, why didn't you catch me? You didn't get hurt, I answered, shifting my glance. What if I did? But you didn't. What's up with you? Watched too many B-movies recently? So, don't you care about me? She grinned. Well, in this situation, certainly I do care, but not enough to catch you. I'm flattered. Hey, don't get any ideas. Okay. You're forgiven for the cards. And you are not. I had no time to finish the sentence. Ulyana jumped off the stage and vanished in the dark of the night. Yup, one more childish trick from the silly girl. Sure, I was worrying about her at the moment, as I would for anyone else in her place. After once again cursing Ulyana in my mind, I headed towards my cabin. I was super lucky that this couldn't somehow turn into a bad ending and just his head gets crushed. Ulyana runs away, never to be seen again, after Semyon is just demolished by flying little red-headed child. Ugh, fine, I'll help the sports club. I don't even like sports. I was hoping that I would escape the obligatory work if I pretend that I'm helping the sports club. They obviously have tons of members and could probably do just as well without a single extra pair of hands. However, I'd better visit the sports ground, at least to check in there. Just in case Olga Dmitrievna finds out that her ideal pioneer slacks off and dodges community service. You never know. I could imagine worse punishments than the public telling off at a party gathering. I wasn't really planning for that to happen. All of a sudden I saw no cleaning, painting, or repairing but a football match. They were playing 5 versus 6. Okay, there's way too many panty shots for Ulyana. I'm gonna have to say that. And I'm blowing the whistle and I'm now the police. I'm not the bus driver anymore. I'm the police. Finally. The police are here. After all this time. I took a closer look at the players and recognized Ulyana. I won't interfere. I'll just watch. The teams were obviously mismatched. One team consisted entirely of younger kids that looked about 12 years old. The other team consisted entirely of teenagers. Besides, they had one extra player, Ulyana. Mind you, what can just one extra person, moreover one girl, do? Soon enough I realized that I was mistaken. Ulyana had a good dribbling technique, cutting through the defenders one by one. She obviously lacked teamwork skills, but they weren't even required at this level. She scored with enviable regularity. I came closer to the pitch, and was immediately hit by the soccer ball. Or, as others say, football, I suppose. Hey, come and join us. There's short one man on their team. I guess that's what counts as community service here. We've already finished everything, said Ulyana, sounding insulted. I looked over the sports ground again. The benches were freshly painted, new nets placed behind the goals. How did they manage to get through all this stuff? You just said there's a bunch of them, so... more hands. Quicker time to finish things. Come join their team. Well, given that I escaped the last time, I should indeed play now. Ball at the center, we start. With the very first touch, I put the ball into the top corner with a delicate strike. Actually, it wasn't that difficult. The pitch was at most 50 meters long, and a goalkeeper of the opposing team couldn't even reach the crossbar. Sometime later, we tied it up, despite our team being 7 or 8 goals behind at the start. Objectively speaking, one should note that Ulyana's team scored a couple of goals during my time here too. More precisely, she scored. You couldn't say that she had Ronaldo. Is that supposed to be Ronaldo's, or am I supposed to be saying the N in there? Ronaldinho's tricks, or precise Beckham's shots in her pocket. She would just kick the ball into open spaces, and coming up towards the goal, she just toe punted every time. However, such dull strategy brought positive results. I cannot keep an eye on every opponent, and my teammates were not much help. Certainly I played better than all of them, and theoretically I could have scored as many times as I wanted, but it seemed unsportsmanlike to me. Winning isn't everything. It's taking part that counts, isn't it? But after Ulyana's words... Penalty shootout. Kinda sounded a little southern in there. The winner wins this game. Wins the game. I made up my mind that I don't want to lose. At the time, it was 11-9 in our favor, so it wasn't reasonable to object. You're in goal. I'll shoot. We switch then. 1 shot each? Yeah. I stood at the line and got ready. She took a run and sent it straight into my hands. That's not fair. What's not fair? I'll shoot again. Okay, just do it, I said, smiling. The second shot would go better in rugby. One more time? Absolutely not. She sniffed. But you shall never score a goal against me. We'll see. I put a ball into the low right corner of a goal with a precise kick. Ulyana didn't even move. However, there was no point. Penalty kicks like that are uncatchable. Looks like I won. She answered nothing and just looked at me resentfully. I needed to lighten the mood. Don't get upset. And that's when the music started playing, calling the pioneers for lunch. Alright, I'll get even with you some other time. She laughed and waved her hand and ran in the direction of the canteen. I juggled the ball a little and followed her. Who is marching forward in a row? It is our pioneer squad. Pioneers in a row usually march to the canteen in the Soviet camp. I was looking for a place where no one would disturb me like what happened before. Just so I can eat in peace. And for that I have to at least not be the last one to come. But I was pretty sure whatever happens here happens whether I want it to or not. The canteen was crammed as full as an egg. Olga Dmitrievna was standing at the entrance guarding it like a hawk. Stay and help Ulyana clean up. Nah, running away is hardly a good idea. For starters, Olga Dmitrievna has caught me already, and dashing off would only agitate my punishment. Aggravate. As well as that, I was indeed partially guilty. Of course, it was all her fault. But if I hadn't reacted like that, probably we could have avoided this thrashing. Probably. I opened the cabinet and took out a broom, a mop, and a dustpan. Olga Dmitrievna wasn't anywhere near Ulyana by the time I returned. She's gone? Can't you see for yourself? Ulyana looked upset. All her youthful spirit vanished without a trace. Okay, hang on. I'll go and wash myself a bit first. I shot her an angry glance and headed towards the exit. I washed the scraps of lunch off myself and returned to the canteen. Well, no escaping it, we have to clean up. It's all because of you. Just a single gaze from her gave me the creeps. Of course it is. It's me who's guilty of everything. It's me who's a local natural hazard. Oh, shut up. Still, it's kind of strange that she's not trying to avoid this cleanup duty. Ulyana had a solid opportunity to just run away and leave me alone, but somehow she did the exact opposite, diligently gathering broken plate fragments, mopping the floor, picking up chairs and tables. In fact, she was so fast that I had a tough time keeping up with her. Well now, already you suddenly acting all goody-goody? I think that said aren't, and I said already. It's not like I want to spend the whole day here, you dork. She still sounded irritated. Listen, you've got to understand that you can't behave like that. At least not to such an extent. For some reason I decided to try and give her a moral lecture. I haven't done a thing. It was you who was calling me names. Ulyana grabbed a bucket and a mop and went to the farthest corner of the canteen. Looks like she's still angry. Looking back at the mountain of broken tableware, I finally began to understand the scope of the catastrophe. We're lucky that, at least the forks and spoons are made of metal. We still have something to eat with. But there are hardly any plates left. Hey. Ulyana called me with a shout. I went over to her. I don't get it. Why do you hate me so much? Her face became so serious that I was ready to believe that it wasn't just yet another trick of hers. Why do you think so? I have no idea. That's exactly why I'm asking you. I don't hate you. It's just that sometimes you behave like, well, you know, a little tiny animal gone wild. As simple as that, but still true. Like what? I have no idea. She lifted her gaze to me, boiling with curiosity. Well, for starters, what's the big idea in pouring the compote all over me? You were asking for it. She smiled for the first time since we started cleaning. Yeah, sure. I heaved a deep sigh. So, what do you expect from others then? Nothing, she replied acidly. This discussion was over, so I just continued cleaning up in silence. It took us a few hours to fix up the canteen. Alisa, all the broken tableware was gone, chairs and tables were in their designated places, the floor looked clean. We were sitting together with Ulyana next to the food counter, breathing heavily, deservedly resting. Now you see how much effort has to be put in because of a silly trick. But I'm not tired at all. Though the sweat pouring down her face told the opposite story. Oh well, good for you. So what are we going to do next? I don't know about you, but I'd rather go to sleep. Nope, that's not all. You have to... She hesitated. To help me with another little thing. Thinking of another silly prank? You bet. She was smiling broadly. I'm not your man here. I'm more than fed up with just one punishment for today.
Okay, here's the deal. If you help me now, there won't be any more pranks.
Sure, that was an inviting prospect, but somehow I couldn't bring myself to trust Ulyana even for a moment. Well, it wouldn't hurt to ask. So what is your cunning plan?
We're gonna steal the candy.
What? I should have expected something like that. Candy is for kids.
Soon the chef will go out to dump the trash. No one's gonna see us.
Count me out.
Ugh, whatever.
She grunted and turned away.
Then I'll do it myself.
And I won't allow. Couldn't even finish a sentence as Ulyana already jumped over the counter, ran to the cabinet, opened the door and started rummaging through it. Hey, cut that. It's not like you haven't got enough problems with Olga Dmitrievna. She didn't reply. You won't get away with just cleaning duty for something like that. Ulyana closed the cabinet. She held a huge bag of candy in her hands. Ah, you little... Put it back! She stuck out her tongue at me and dashed off through the back door. I couldn't just leave it at that. I darted off in pursuit. Sure, the girl had quite a head start, but I still funneled all my energy into the chase. I won't lose her again. We ran through the square. Turned at the music club building. And came out onto the forest trail. I'd almost caught Ulyana when she stopped abruptly. I couldn't pull up as sharply, so I crashed into her, sending us sprawling. We rolled down onto the grass. Gotcha! I gave a victorious shout.
No, you didn't.
Semyon, you better watch it. You know I've taken up the position of Sovienok police. I am the only one on the force, but I will use force. She replied with an ashamed tone. Ulyana was lying under me. Her face was right next to mine. I felt her erratic breathing and the heat of her body. I'm just gonna keep looking up police siren sound effects. I can't believe I used my police siren too early. Oh. The autoplay was on. I think I'm gonna have fun drawing the thumbnail for this. Sure, right now she's only a child, but soon enough she'll become a woman. Yeah, and right now she's still a child. Semyon, I'm gonna have to place you under arrest if you continue this. It was pretty embarrassing. Everyone is under arrest. Everyone is under arrest. And no one's getting out. She said, coming back to her senses. I'm not gonna say that line either. I'm not here to go along with your games. Anyway, it's more like a game to her. It's sure not a game to me. This isn't funny. This isn't fun. I don't want to say any of these lines. She gave a cunning smile and snorted quietly. Or was it just my imagination?
Whatever.
Ulyana reached up and bit me on the nose. I wasn't expecting that, and it even pulled back a little. Just a moment of hesitation was enough for her to wrestle out and run a dozen few feet.
Watch it. You're gonna regret this later.
She laughed out loud and disappeared into the woods. The candy bag was left lying on the ground near me. I wonder if she dropped it on purpose. It's getting near dinner time, so I had to hurry up and return the candy. And preferably, very preferably, stay under the radar. Of course, I'll explain the situation. It was Ulyana who had stolen them. So who's gonna believe me? Well, I'm certainly not gonna believe you, even though I was there, because it just gives me another excuse to arrest you. If I had a judging stare beforehand, this is the most intense judging stare that I will ever make, Semyon. You disappoint me. Olga Dmitrievna was already waiting for me at the entrance to the canteen. Good job, Semyon. Not good job. Shake my head at you, Semyon. This is the worst. On what? I hid the bag of sweets behind my back. The bag was transparent and too big to put into my pocket. I was talking about the cleanup. Everything is clean and tidy. Well, yeah. And where is Ulyana? I wish I knew. She'll come soon. Okay then, go and have your dinner. I entered the canteen. To my utter lack of surprise, it was full. Now I really don't know how to return the bag without being noticed. Sure, I could do it in the evening, but what to do with it now? Semyon! I turned around. Slavia was in front of me. Wow, what's that? She looked at the bag that I didn't manage to hide in time. Caught red-handed, or more like sweet-handed. Time to prepare for a scolding. That was dumb. It's not impressed. These are sweets. Where from? I stole them, damn it. Got them from Ulyana. Oh, I see. Same old song and dance? What do you mean? It's not the first time she's stolen sweets. And why am I not surprised? Let me handle this. Thanks. Slavia saves the day yet again. She took the bag and headed to the buffet. I had no desire to listen to what she was going to say while returning the sweets, so I started to look around the canteen looking for a place to sit. Slavia left. I probably should not refuse her after everything she did for me, but I wasn't made for such activities. Oh, everybody's having so much fun. This is way cooler than ever. Why is Olga wearing her hat? That completely ruined the outfit. The pioneers kept on dancing. At least, they liked the ball. Olga Dmitrievna danced too. I considered that not really appropriate. The leader has to keep order around. Especially since she's not 17. Wait. Isn't Lena supposed to be cleaning something? Or is that after? Or did they leave? Did they leave early? I don't remember. A lot of dialogue to go through, and I don't remember many things. Olga Dmitrievna came over to me as if she felt that somebody doubted her professionalism. Why are you not dancing? I don't really want to. I'm real confused. Why were you wearing that hat while you were dancing, but now it's gone? Is that your dance hat? Do you need your dance hat? Is that the only way you're able to dance? Your choice. She smiled cunningly. Then I have a perfect task for you. A task which is Any other activity seemed better than dancing. You cleaned the canteen well today, but I think you haven't fully atoned yet. Ulyana.
What?
Come here. Ulyana came over to us reluctantly. I see you've had enough dancing for a long time to come.
No, I haven't.
She was sweating like a pig, so it seemed that the leader was right. I have a task for you and Semyon.
But Olga Demetrina.
Ulyana begged.
It's dance time now and it's late.
It won't take much time. Slavia was sorting the books in the library, but hasn't finished. You have only a couple of shelves to do.
But...
No buts. For goodness sake. I don't like public work, but dancing, I'm ready. Let's do this. I'd rather stock the shelves and dance. I can't dance. I need to save face. Good job, Semyon. That's my boy. A real pioneer. You should follow his example, Ulyana. Ulyana didn't appreciate such an example, though. So do it. The whole camp is relying on you.
I'll remember this,
she hissed. The camp in the evening was beautiful. Silence and peace calmed me. Only the distant music from the square reminded me that I am not alone here. And Ulyana, who just came back. You could do the cleaning in your dress, though. I grinned.
This is all your fault.
She breathed heavily, and her face was as red as a tomato, so I wouldn't have been surprised if steam started coming out of her ears.
You. It is all your fault.
Why me again?
If only you'd just been quiet.
What would have changed? She'd make us do it anyway.
You.
She wasn't able to speak normally and just hissed. So what if I kept silent? Do you think she would let you keep on having fun? Ulyana looked at me. She seemed to calm down a bit.
Really? You don't care at all. You can't even dance.
So what if I can't?
If you had danced with me, it would have been fun.
She returned to her usual childlike mode, which I feel like is all the time, aside for when it seems like she's really serious, which was like one time. When she asked whether we hated her or not. I might have... Would you see how the things turned out? We won't have a chance to see who is a better dancer. We approached the library. It was already dark outside. I was slightly surprised by Olga Demetrina's request, or more like an order, to sort the books at night. This is so bizarre. There was no light inside and the switch didn't work, unpleasantly clicking with every push.
What?
Well, never mind then. Let's just go back to the cabin and go to sleep. It might have actually worked properly, but the lights weren't turning on.
Wait, I'll get the candles.
Damn it. We could have just went to sleep. I was just about to ask how she knows where the candles and matches are when two small lights appeared on the table next to me.
That's better,
Ulyana said, satisfied with herself. What's next?
What's what next?
She looked at me inquiringly. What will we do next?
How should I know?
She chuckled. Great. I walked around the bookcases. Olga Demetrina said something about a couple of shelves, but all of them needed to be done. I touched the books and made sure that there was no dust on them. It looked like someone did a really good job before us. Having examined the whole library, I didn't find anything to clean. The leader must have made a mistake. Suddenly, I heard footsteps from behind. The old cracked floor was squeaking, so Ulyana wasn't able to sneak up on me unnoticed.
Boo!
I turned around. Oh my god, I'm so scared, please.
Oh, whatever.
She turned away resentfully. It looks really clean in here, so... The dimly illuminated rows of books looked at me reproachfully. Unknown authors from long forgotten years. I wonder if anyone still remembers them. Xenia must remember. I'm sure that she remembers everything.
Okay, sit down.
Ulyana moved a chair over to me. I sat on it. So what's next?
Let's tell scary stories to each other. We have 2 chairs and 2 candles, so there should be 2 stories, 1 mine and 1 yours.
Okay. I agreed without thinking. I hadn't the slightest intention of going back to the dance, and going by my experience, there was nothing to do in the camp at night. Especially as I knew a couple of nice stories which would be able to really scare Ulyana. And that was awesome. You first.
Okay.
She made herself comfortable and braced the chairs back with her arms and moved the candle as close to her face as possible. Once upon a time in a village far away lived a boy. Just a boy. He went to school, played with other children. There was nothing special about him. One day he made a bet with his friends that he wasn't scared to go to the abandoned house. Ulyana left a long pause. So, what was in the house?
Don't interrupt me.
Inventing it on the fly? She pouted her lips and continued. They say a witch had lived in that house, and people still see her ghost there in the night. Nobody knew for sure, but everybody was scared. The boy had said that it was all nonsense, and he was ready to spend a whole night in there, so he did, but he didn't return in the morning. He was found hanged. Ulyana stopped talking again. Thrilling. Did he hang himself with his shoelaces? I said skeptically. She frowned again. Is that the end?
Of course not.
They buried the boy, the way it was supposed to be, the coffin and stuff. His relatives and friends grieved, but they couldn't bring him back. After a few days, people started to disappear in the village. Nobody knew how or why, they just vanished into thin air. The villagers wanted to call the police, but a friend of that boy who hanged himself in the witch's house told them that he'd seen that boy. Nobody believed him at first, but people kept on disappearing. Then the villagers decided to dig up the coffin. There were long nail scratches on the inside of the lid, but there was no body. Where did he go? Ulyana moved the candle away from her and made a scary face, or at least what she thought was scary. In the end, all the villagers disappeared, and occasional passerbys near the witch's house tell that they saw 2 ghosts. Ulyana blew out her candle and stopped talking. It looked like the story was finished. Wonderful! I applauded. Not quite Pulitzer Prize worthy, but...
Are you scared? Frightened?
Oh, I'm just shivering all over.
Oh, whatever. Tell your story then. I'm sure I won't even flinch.
I collected my thoughts and decided to tell a story I had read on the blog of an acquaintance of mine a few months back. He was quite a good storyteller, at least I liked his style, so success was guaranteed. I certainly didn't remember the story word for word, so I told it with my own words. There is a faraway space station, the last boundary of humanity, located on the border with a hostile civilization, the third month of the ceasefire. It can't be really called a ceasefire, more like a not war. A small group of survivors is exhausted by a long siege. On one hand, they can't retreat, leaving the outpost. On the other hand, they understand that they won't last even a minute if the enemy attacks. Despair is the best word to describe their situation. The food is running out. There is only ammo for a few shots, which will only seem like a greeting fireworks. There's only plenty of air and water owing to the regeneration system. People didn't talk to each other for weeks at a time. They may just not see the point of wasting their time on communication while death is at the door. Or behind meter-thick station armor, to be precise. It is really better just to wait for the rescue or enemy's attack. Both outcomes will lead to the end of this torture. This situation looks like a chess game against an invisible opponent. It's the hardest part, endgame. Any wrong move will lead to defeat, yours or your enemy's. But does the enemy know about it? They may be afraid of making a wrong move too. Meanwhile, the humans may move their king, but only 1 square forward and then 1 square back again. Any other move will automatically lead to defeat. A step forward is an implied threat to attack, and a step backward is a deliberate necessity of defense. The game would be much easier if the opponent was sitting in front of you. Even an experienced chess player can't hide nervous eye movements, the occasional drop of sweat or shaky hands. On the one hand, everything is futile. Everyone realizes that the situation is hopeless because no one would decide to make a move to escape the imminent defeat. On the other hand, when seeing the opponent in front of you, understanding that he is totally like you and can make a mistake, you can more easily stake everything. The opponent may feel the same difficulties. These are the circumstances of the few men and women on the edge of the universe. There were no orders from the headquarters for several days. Though the last orders had contained nothing useful, only the usual demand to keep on defending. 1 square forward, 1 square back, the swinging of an internal pendulum. At the beginning of the 4th moon, the commander decides to retreat. He reasons that the lives of his soldiers are more important than the mythical ideals of humanity. No one will judge him for this. Moreover, they can't change anything. The preparations don't take much time. The greatest asset you can save from a sinking ship is your life. The whole station crew board the rescue vessel. The launch sequence starts. 3, 2, 1, and nothing. The bay doors don't open. They send mechanics to check for malfunctions, but they don't find anything. The doors should open, but they don't open the 2nd time or the 3rd. The commander orders his crew to leave the station in rescue pods, but they can't launch either. They explain it as a technical malfunction. The crew tries to communicate with headquarters in vain. After a few days, the executive officer notices that there is nothing on the radars, nothing at all. No planets, no asteroids, no enemy ships. Just an endless darkness. They run out of food in a month. Everybody thinks that that's the end, but no one dies, not after a day, a week, not even after a month. As if there's no need for food to sustain human life. At this moment, the majority of the crew goes insane. Some of them just stay in their rooms and pray, some wander around the station, some try to commit suicide. But neither point-blank shots with a plasma gun, nor hydro-tank diving, nor even simply slitting the veins bring any results. Days pass by, months, or maybe even years. Nobody keeps a track of time. Insane people rescue their minds again, and normal people go insane. It repeats many times. In the end, the crew accepts its condition. They start to make up occupations. Theatrical stagings, sports tournaments, readings of self-written books. A lot of family couples appear and many more break up. It is an infinite flow of time, an enclosed loop of a human life, and only the darkness on the radar reminds them of the emptiness outside. But there is an emptiness inside the station too. In the end, people stop living. They just lie in their rooms and sleep. Not 24/7 at first, but as the time goes by, they learn to fall into a trance. Every person has his own dreams. One returns to his childhood, one gets his lost love back, one defends the ideals of humanity with a blaster in his hands. Some others just wander in space. Shabby from skirmishes with the enemy, a rescue vessel docks with a station. The boarding squad gets inside. The whole station looks like a piece of scrap metal which has floated in space for thousands of years. The reactor had shut down a long time ago. There were marks of the laser shots on the walls. The equipment was all smashed. They found decayed skeletons of people who died horribly defending the frontier of humanity in almost every room. And only one cryptic message sent to the headquarters implied that something was wrong. Save us. We want to die. I finished the story and looked at Ulyana. Her face was concealed by the darkness. So that's the story. I blew out the light. Ulyana shrieked, rose up and threw herself towards me. Why is her candle still on? Still lit. We fell on the floor. What's up with you? Nothing. Her voice sounded very scared. Looks like my story hit the jackpot. I mentally congratulated myself. Ulyana wasn't having fun, though. She embraced me, shivered, and sobbed. What's wrong with you, you silly thing? I patted her head. It's just a story. It's not real. You and your stupid stories. Ulyana cuddled up to me more. Were you that scared? Yeah. Frankly, I didn't expect such an honest answer from her. Everything's alright. Time heals all wounds. She'll calm down. Listen, Semyon. What? Never mind, it's nothing. She buried her face in my chest. Minutes passed. Okay, I understand. Maybe we should go. I listened. Ulyana snored quietly. Hey, wake up. Can you even fall asleep from fear? Wake up, I said. No reaction. I tried to stand up. Ulyana certainly didn't weigh more than 40 kilograms, but imagine yourself lying under such a weight. It's really not easy to stand up. You should think that Ulyana was dead if not for her breathing. I certainly could make more effort. But then I'd wake her up and it all will start again. Such an unenviable situation. There's the option to wait until she wakes up by herself, though. She certainly won't sleep all the way until the morning after such a story. I looked through the window at the starry sky. I wonder if there really is a distant outpost from a ghost crew. My eyes slowly closed and in a moment I fell asleep. I felt warmth in my dream. It happens sometimes. Your brain is not completely awake yet, but you still feel the sun shining in your eyes, and when you wake up you blink for some time to get used to the light. It was a wonderful morning. I don't know how, you slept on the floor. And also, weren't you like in a chair, you got tackled down, so you were like probably partially on the chair? Your back should be hurting. The birds were singing, the air was fresh and fragrant, and the world was bathed in daylight. I'd stay in bed for some time longer, but something was not quite right. All yesterday evening's events flashed through my mind. Scary and not so scary stories, Ulyana. Who was cuddling up to me tightly and snoring not quite like a little girl would. But I didn't worry at all. After all, it's still early, surely no later than 7 or 8 o'clock. Who'd want to go to the library that early? I sat back and looked out the window. In a couple of minutes, the sun will hit right in Ulyana's eyes. That's when you're gonna wake up. It's interesting how did she manage to hug me so tightly? Indeed, I couldn't free myself at all. Theoretically, I was ready to spend 1 or 2 more hours lying this way, but suddenly I heard footsteps. Sounds like trouble. Wake up, do you hear me? Wake up. I started carefully but insistently shaking Ulyana by her shoulders, tried to loosen her grip, but it was all in vain. Meanwhile, the footsteps were getting closer. I have to save us at any cost. Standing up seemed unworkable, that's what I learned already, so I decided to crawl. My moves strongly resembled reservist training, which I never attended. Soldier dragging his injured officer while under an artillery attack. The officer is unconscious, the soldier is exhausted, and layers of barbed wire surrounded them. I barely managed to crouch behind a bookstand and hide Ulyana when the library door opened. Xenia was standing on the doorstep. She seemed a bit overcommitted to her work, since she's coming in at the crack of dawn. Wait! I heard a familiar voice. Huh? A visitor? So, she indeed does have a reason to come here.
Why couldn't she come yesterday, or today but later?
Science waits for nobody.
She? Wait, she? What? What's going on? Science.
It was Eletronik.
Hold on for a sec. I'll find it.
She headed towards us. I barely managed to turn Ulyana around so that she was on my back and crawled on all fours to a nearby bookshelf, where I collapsed and tried to catch my breath.
What was it? Cybernetic mathematics? Or mathematical cybernetics?
It seems she didn't notice us. I'd like something about the electronic bombardment of photovoltaics takes, whatever. Science things.
Are you crazy? Why would we have something military?
That's not military at all. For some reason they were silent. Xenia.
What?
Let's go down to the river tonight.
What for?
Well, just...
I have a lot of things to do. Come on, get moving. Your robot is waiting for you.
Okay. The door slamming was like an epithet. Squints. For Electronik's love struggles. Seems like he's not a cold-blooded robot after all. I chuckled quietly. Anyway, laughter seems a bit inappropriate. We have to escape the library somehow. Jesus, how does Ulyana sleep through this entire thing? Waiting until Xenia goes for breakfast seems to be the easiest solution at the moment. She's a communist labor worker after all, not one of Electronik's mythical robots. She has to at least eat sometime. Meanwhile, Ulyana wasn't going to wake up. At least she's not snoring anymore. The library was silent. I didn't see Xenia, but was more or less satisfied with the situation. You know what I just realized? Why isn't she wearing any shoes? All of a sudden, incomprehensible noises came from her desk. Clicks, cracks, and music started. The Soviet anthem? Just great. It would have been alright if not for Xenia, who started to sing along. United forever in friendship and labor, I don't know how this song goes. I could only envy her patriotic feelings. Unfortunately, she had some vocal issues. The Soviet pop scene definitely didn't miss out on a star called Xenia. The anthem ended and an unfamiliar voice started to talk about the overachievements of a 5-year plan of crop harvesting. It was a radio, obviously. I started listening attentively. Maybe they would say something interesting. But after the list of agriculture achievements, the voice started to disappear and was gone in a few minutes. Signal disturbance, probably. Of course. Xenia stood up and headed towards us. The situation's hitting rock bottom. I managed to unclench Ulyana's grip with a titanic struggle. I was free to go, but was so cramped from all this crouching that I didn't have the strength to get up. It's time to prepare for the worst and start thinking of excuses. Suddenly the steps stopped. Seems like Xenia was standing on the other side of the bookshelf. I heard the sounds of book rustling. Probably she's looking for something. She took a book and returned to her desk. The door slammed open. Semyon? Have you seen him? Olga Dmitrievna was definitely out of breath. Ulyana? No. Xenia answered with surprise. The door was slammed as loudly as the previous time. Seems like everyone is looking for us, and Xenia will start to look around the library. But fortunately, that very moment, the bell sounded in the distance, calling pioneers for breakfast. Xenia, being a punctual person, decided not to linger and left the library in a few minutes. There was only me and Ulyana in the library. Then it was time to decide what to do with her. No longer afraid of being caught, I bent down and shouted in her ear. Wakey, wakey, eggs and bakey! She instantly jumped and started to look around. Noticing me, Ulyana's eyes widened. What are you doing here? Playing at spies. Huh? Never mind, did you sleep well? Yes. She seems she's not yet completely conscious. Breakfast? Yes. We left the library. At last. Now it's certain that I won't have to explain to anyone the what, how, and why of Ulyana and myself being in there all night long. Distant sounds of sirens. Sorry for falling asleep like that. It's alright. I guess my words sounded too insincere because she looked at me with disbelief. Wait a minute. What were you doing in there all this time? You wouldn't believe me. Wait a moment. That means... Ulyana giggled, stepped away from me, and shouted loudly. I'm the first for breakfast. Not a big surprise after such a deep sleep, I said, but Ulyana already couldn't hear me, being far ahead. It was unusually crowded near the canteen. Of course, there was no other place in the camp that pioneers love as much as the canteen. Oh, well, okay. Of course, there was no other place in the camp that pioneers loved as much as the canteen, but why were they all crowding on the porch? I came closer and tried to find out what's happening. It looked like all the camp had gathered at the porch. There were all the familiar girls, Olga Dmitrievna and Eletronik. They were having a lively discussion. What happened to Shurik? Oh, is Shurik gone? Is this when he's gone? I drew closer. For some reason it feels so early. Ah, Semyon. Where on earth have you been? I waited for you all night long and have been searching since early morning. Ulyana told me that you left the library together yesterday. I looked at Ulyana. She was grinning. Acrimonious. What is that? Acrimonious. Acrimoniously, I was super far off. Well, we'll deal with this later. Have you seen Shurik today? But I was stopped by Olga Dmitrievna. And you, Semyon, please stay here. Yeah? Would you care to explain where you've been all night? Well, this is a thing I hadn't thought about. True, this couldn't have gone by unnoticed. I could have thought of some clear explanation at least. But I hadn't. Well, me and Ulyana were placing the books on the shelves, but then she locked me there and ran away. I was stuck in there until morning. I was at the library today, and I didn't see you there. Kind of aware of that. Well, I left quietly. And why is Ulyana telling me something completely different? You think she'd tell you that she'd locked a person up? What might that be? You know what her stories are like. Yes, you might be right. The camp leader paused for a minute. Just don't think this means I believe you. I didn't think that. Okay, we'll deal with it later. I won't forget. It's more important to find Shurik now. Yeah. Dismissed. Got food poisoning from the canteen? Considering the local cuisine isn't that surprising.
Maybe.
She smirked.
I see you're still alive and kicking.
Well, I'm not complaining.
Bye.
Riveting. Ulyana ran out of the infirmary, slamming the door. Again, I went back to studying Soviet fashion trends. But what do you need it for?
I need it for my needs.
Okay, let's assume I got it. You won't tell anybody?
I give you the word of a pioneer.
You could hardly believe her. But on the other hand, it was just a coil of wire, so why shouldn't I try? No wire for you. Enough already.
Then I'll tell everything.
You'll tell everything anyway, or Alisa will.
Get lost.
Yeah, sure, as if it was my fault.
It is. You were watching us.
Oh, this is about the Alisa being shirtless thing. No, I wasn't. But no matter how you slice it, I actually was.
Alisa doesn't think so.
She doesn't agree with me about a lot of things.
And Olga Dmitrievna won't be happy either.
You know what? I started to lose my temper. If you want to tell everything, go ahead right now. And don't forget to mention that the government's default, world depression, global warming, and the Genesis flood are all my fault too.
Oh, come on. Stop overreacting like that. I was joking.
Joking? I suddenly realized that I really was wound up too much. Your jokes are stupid. And what am I supposed to do every time? Guess if it was real or a joke?
Yeah.
Kinda losing my voice. She grinned.
It's more funny that way.
Ulyana turned around and ran towards the square, waving her hand in parting. Still, you can't deal with her in a harmonious way. I sighed and went back into the club's quarters. Eletronik was building something with rapt attention. Now I'm done with everything. So I thought you'd get me something as you promised. My voice sounded a bit sycophantic, which was enough to drive me mad. Of course I'm not insisting, but... 1 minute. He tore himself away from his work and got a pair of buns from the drawer and a classic triangular pack of kefir. Be my guest. Thank you. While I was busy eating, Eletronik didn't turn away from his device for a second. He was rolling up the wire which I had taken away from Ulyana onto the coil. So what's this? An inductor. And duck. What? Join our club and you'll know everything. He looked at me and smiled slyly. I'll think about it. Of course I wasn't going to join anything, but taking into account that he had fed me, I had to be polite. By the way, as I said, I have something else. Well, yeah. Wait a second. He went into the adjacent room and came back after a minute with some kind of package. Dun-da-da! And gave it to me. There was a big bottle of Stolichnia vodka inside. Didn't we see this before? Huh? I get it, but it's still morning. Or does Eletronik share the motto of get drunk in the morning, take the entire day off? What are you talking about? I'm not suggesting we drink it. We have to clean the optics. Cleaning the optics. Yeah, right. Internally. Okay. I gave him the package back. I'll go then. Come back any time. Of course. The moment I want to have a drink. Walking out, I questioned myself why he wanted to show me the vodka in the first place. Suddenly my hunger returned again. For sure, a meal of some buns and a kefir was awesome, but it's not enough to fill me up. Kefir? Was it kefir? I don't remember. I feel like I should remember, but I don't. Luckily for me, I heard the bell sound, calling pioneers for lunch. So insistent. Skipping forward. The day had just started and I'd gone through so many things already. Do it again. I ain't gonna do nothing. I'm just gonna sit here and stare into this fire. Think about life. All I was doing was just watching the fire. There's a saying that claims that one could watch it forever as well as running water. I didn't think about Ulyana that evening at all. That thing with the cake. Like it didn't even happen. Though I remembered well her resentful, disappointed face. Maybe in some other situation I would never have decided to go to her. But now, a fine reason to leave this place and end this stupid hike has appeared. Recalling that Olga Dmitrievna told me to be prepared for new tasks, I decided not to ask for her permission, and after choosing a proper moment, I disappeared in the woods. Night fell on the camp. I mentally thanked the camp leader for not researching the land too well, since this meant cultivation. Civilization was only a few hundred meters away. Another long walk through the night forest was not in my plans. Soon I came to the square and hesitated. Won't it look silly? What would I tell Ulyana? Moreover, why would I go to see her in the first place? My head was so heavy and full that there was no room in it for the development of any ideas. If I could compare my mind at its prime to a broad highway full of speeding thoughts overtaking each other and causing giant, chaotic crashes, then now is nothing but a forgotten tiny path in a distant, desolate forest, which is only used in times of absolute necessity. So it's better not to think about anything and just act. But where should I go? Maybe to her cabin? And what if she's not there? All of a sudden something knocked me down and I fell to the asphalt. It's a good thing I had time to stretch out my arms, otherwise I would have broken my nose. Gotcha! I quickly got up from the ground and saw Ulyana standing before me. What are you doing? I couldn't stop myself from shouting, despite my best efforts. You shouldn't be stargazing, she answered viciously. What if I had smashed my nose or I'd broken my arm? I said more calmly.
Well, neither of those happened.
Look, why do you always mock me? I already regret my decision to try and ease her loneliness. Was today's punishment not enough for you? Can you even draw simple conclusions?
It's entirely your fault.
The smile instantly disappeared from Ulyana's face. What exactly is my fault?
Everything!
You mean I'm to blame all the time?
Yes.
She crossed her hands in front of her chest and turned away. Great. I suddenly wanted to get away from this place as fast as possible. But it was because of you I came here.
What?
I guess you're quite bored given that everybody is hiking and you're alone here.
I don't care,
she yelled cheerfully.
Well, if things are that way, what do you want to do?
What do you mean?
Well, if you came here because of me.
Such a thought hadn't occurred to me. Although I don't really know what I came here for. After such a greeting, I no longer want to do anything.
Then it's up to me to choose,
said Ulyana cheerfully and started to think. I stared at her for some time but then couldn't stand it. Listen. If you're again planning to...
I know. Let's scare the others. We'll dress up as ghosts, for example. It's going to be so fun.
I didn't find this funny in any way. Enough of that already. I began tiredly but broke off. Maybe that's not such a bad idea. After all, by the time she thinks it's over and gathers all she needs, Olga Demetrina and the pioneers will already be back. If I came here because of Ulyana, then I need to play along. Perhaps you're right.
What?
She was looking at me with her eyes wide open.
Are you going to agree just like that?
Well, what's so wrong about that? And furthermore, if you insist... She studied me attentively for several seconds and rattled off.
Excellent. Then we need some bed sheets. We want to look like real ghosts, don't we?
Probably.
You go get them,
Ulyana announced imperiously. Where do you think I'm going to get them?
Take them from your cabin, obviously.
It wasn't that obvious to me.
So you don't want to go?
She instantly made a gloomy face. Okay. I recalled the fact that there were spare sets of bed linen in Olga Demetrina's wardrobe. So maybe there was nothing to worry about. We approached the cabin leader's cabin, and I said to Ulyana, "Wait for me here."
Sir, yes, sir.
She rattled off and saluted me. It seemed Ulyana was entirely immersed in the game. I quickly found 2 clean white bed sheets. It's a shame they're going to get smudged. Here, take it. I handed one of the bed sheets to her.
It's too large for me,
Ulyana said after twirling it in her hands. No wonder considering her height. Give it to me. I folded the bed sheet in half and gave it back to her.
It's much better now. Follow me.
She put the white cloth over her head and ran into the forest. Wait. I threw myself after her. Just a few minutes later, we were near the pioneers' camp hiding behind the trees. Now it's clear that the trick, harmless at first, was taking an unpleasant twist. For some reason, I was sure from the start that the hike would end before Ulyana took any actions, and now we were standing 10 meters away from the pioneers dressed in bed sheets. We didn't look frightening at all, rather we looked comical.
Get ready, on my command.
Wait. Actually, I was joking when I agreed to all this. Think again, it won't do any good. You'll get yourself put under house arrest until the end of the shift. And so will I.
No retreat, no surrender. Are you ready? On the count of 3.
I started scrolling through all the possible outcomes in my mind feverishly. There weren't many of them. First one, me and Ulyana run out from behind the trees and the pioneers start laughing, resulting in me getting a considerable scolding from the camp leader and possibly something even worse. And Ulyana is sentenced to the highest measure of punishment feasible under the laws of the pioneer camp. Second one, I stay here and observe with the others how Ulyana runs around the glade in a bedsheet. She's sentenced to the highest measure like in the first option, and I stay in relative safety. Third one, I do everything possible to prevent her from committing this act of moral vandalism, and no one suffers but her self-esteem. It all could have gone so well, but either those thoughts took more than 3 seconds, or Ulyana shortened the count, so I hadn't managed to pull myself together in time, when she sprang out into the glade screaming inhumanly. As expected, all the pioneers laughed loudly. Someone even fell from the log he was sitting on and started rolling on the ground. For people who are laughing, they sure look terrified. I tried to save the day and yelled as loud as possible so Ulyana would hear me, but not the others. "Fool! Stop it! Come here!" I don't know whether it was my persuasion that worked or Ulyana understood that her performance had failed, but she ran in my direction quickly, and without pausing hid herself in the forest. I didn't hesitate to follow. Such a finale left a tiny chance that she won't be punished again. It's good that I didn't join in on that tragicomical act. Now I need to find Ulyana. It turned out to be not that hard, as she hadn't managed to get far. Ulyana was sitting on a tree stump, crying. I stood still, hesitating. Of course such an outcome was to be expected, but now I had absolutely no idea of what to do or how to comfort her. And besides, I'd gone back to the camp intentionally and had agreed to participate in that show. But it just got worse. As well as that, I was tired unto death. At that moment, I wish it would all just cease to exist. I just wanted to close my eyes and appear elsewhere. Preferably in a quiet and peaceful place. But the sight of the sobbing Ulyana obliged me to take action. I walked up to her and sat down on the ground. "Well, what were you expecting anyway?" I began philosophically. "It was sure to end up this way."
"You're to blame for everything, you!"
Ulyana shouted in tears. "So what would have changed if I had sprung out with you back there? We both would have been laughed at, that's all."
"You always act this way, always."
Her sobbing was becoming louder and louder, and then she suddenly rushed at me and started pounding on my chest with her fists. The hits were not hard. It was more likely an attempt to take out the despair that had gripped Ulyana than a real wish to beat me up. "Calm down already," I said firmly. She stopped crying for a second and hugged me.
"Maybe nothing would have changed, but it would have been more comfortable for me if we went together."
I didn't know what to say, so I just patted her on the head.
"Can I stay like this for a bit longer?"
"Yeah." At that time, she didn't seem like a dangerously explosive nuclear reactor in the form of a little girl, but just like a little sister of mine who'd messed things up. I wasn't mad at all. I wasn't mad at her at all, on the contrary. It seemed I too was beginning to care about the failure of the ghost's play acting. It's alright. We'll scare them properly next time."
"Yeah."
What the heck? It's like she grew all of a sudden. I don't know for how long we sat in silence. Ulyana stopped crying and I didn't want to disturb her as she had just calmed down. But I also had absolutely no desire to stay in the forest overnight. "Hey, let's get back to the camp." I shook her shoulder gently, but there was no answer. Ulyana had fallen asleep. Why is her eyebrow on his face? You could see, if you kind of follow the line of where his forehead should be, her eyebrow is passing over it. Like, outside of the fact that it's passing over his hair, it's passing onto his eyebrow.